We will move on to our next session, which is called The Body is Also in the Soul. And it is now my pleasure to welcome Hoshang Merchant, who is a teacher and poet of 50 years standing. He is modern India's first openly gay poet, having written 20 books of poetry and 5 books of LGBT theory. He recently retired from Hyderabad University. For many in the LGBT community, he's a mother figure and a queen in his own right. Please join me in welcoming Hoshang Merchant.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I shall read some poetry. It's based on the work of Ezra Pound, who was a pre-World War II poet. Along with W.B. Yeats and T.S. Eliot, he has created modern English poetry. We English writers in India, we are still modern poets. I will read my unpublished cantos, which are based on his work. And then I'll read you something about queer writing, since this is a queer session. And then I'll show you 2 new books, which I hope you will buy. Okay. Ezra Pound was an American who lived in Italy under Benito Mussolini, and he lived in Italy, Venice, the Venice Canto. I write this in pencil tentatively, for I write of great civilizations. I write as if I know nothing. I came to Venice, and I sat on the steps of the Duke's palace and wept, because everything cost too much that year. What with the hot wind sirocco, and my sister, all light, sister of the light touch and the lighted eyes, took me by the hand from the American Express to the glass blowers, bypassing the mosaics, where sand is blown light into glass, and we picked the same vase for each other, because we were one at root, though separated by our singular destinies. And onward to Ravenna, where Duke Este's steed still stands, and where sweet Dante descended into hell, the same Dante who first got hell's map from an Arab, Al-Mari's Risala al-Ghufran, letter from prison. And the letter from hell was all algebra to me, until gentle Jan Kemp of Christchurch, New Zealand, calculated the degrees. Why, Dante emerged from hell out of here on my own homestead. So the world was always really one, until the shit-ass bombers and farting lawgivers ripped it apart for oil found in the earth's bowels. Diogenes in his tub was no different from the anthropophagi Alexander found, who sheltered themselves from the sun with a raised foot, and the beautiful freestanding Apollo of Anaximander was evolved, rotated and revolved from the grim, high-backed, chaired pharaohs of grim Luxor, Egypt, and Venus herself is black, as indeed was Mother Eve, until she bleached out at Paphos, Greece, while emerging out of the sea. The light, or while being ejected from paradise. The light here is not of the atmosphere, but of the mind. Why do I not get tired of writing this? Is anybody listening? The Vikings and Crusaders were both seafarers. They were conquerors who suffered sea change into something rich and strange, so that the domes of Venice began suspiciously to look like the domes of Istanbul. Meat seasoned with cardamom, sultan-hating plotter seasoned in coffee house, soon ended in the clinker, but let me not tinker with history. Now in Genoa, my friend Massimo Bacigalupo, heroic soul, translator of Beowulf, takes me by my hand and teaches me simply, Hoshang, don't you see, Genoa faces west to its peril. All Venice faced east. In Homer, there is a story about men who carry their heads between their legs. It's a metaphor for oral sex and homosexuality that I use. Lotophagi. The lotophagi have heads between the legs, or so Homer said. They go day and night looking for light between their legs. I first found them in India like Alexander, but they all belong to a single tribe stretching from Bombay to the Bay of Naples. They are masked at Venice's Mardi Gras, and in the Johns of Bombay's Victoria Terminus, they hide their names. In Africa, they hide in the grass, their heads in their asses, like ostriches. But one look from your eyes makes the light in their eyes flare up. Boy, does it flare up unforgettably, for even here we are all one in seeking light, even the men who, like ostriches, come from eggs and go looking for light between their legs. Now, some of you might know that Ezra Pound was responsible for the publicity which got Tagore his Nobel Prize in 1913. But, of course, there was jealousy because W.B. Yeats got his Nobel Prize in 1933. So there are quotations from the famous Tagore poem we all read at school. There are quotations from Ezra Pound. And there is also some snide remarks that Ezra Pound made about Tagore after he got the prize. Tagore meets Pound. It is an English garden. Gone is the summer and every English rose. That Tagore gets up his Indian courtesy for Mr. Pound of Idaho, son of the master of the mint. Let there be new coinage. But what does the Ganges babble on about birds, this and others? Give me my chattering, babbling country brook. This old English lady in grey wig and cashmere shawl. It is autumn already, and from the hands fall leaves and leaves of books, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. Gone is Boleyn and every English rose, and the river Po goes lazily like the river Padma this lazy morning. The marsh is waiting to be drained since the time of Julius Caesar. This liquid is certainly a property of the mind. To study with the white wings of time passing, is that not our delight? To have friends come from far countries, is that not pleasure? And not to care that we are unpublicized. So said Ezra. This is about a young man who died early in the Homerian epic. I had a boyfriend who died at 27. Elpenor, the nape nerve severed, dead of a fall, went to Troy to become a hero, but yo, yo, the boys called from the sea, fisher boys calling Dolfino, Octopusso, yo, yo, the boys calling from land, calling Garnata, Pomegranata, in each blood-red cell the light shone, light of the eyes, light of God, of Eos and Kos. And from root and stem springs the sap to the mouth. We drank our fill until one day in Circe's house, he died coming down darkly after carousing, fell off the perch, nape nerve severed, dead of a fall. Before the coming of great things to come, the sea flecked red with Adonis's blood, he looked like he was sleeping alive, except for a bruise at the temple, all stitched up after autopsy at the morgue. The father had sold his organ for transplant, translations for a song. I was not there. I was in Africa looking for the source. Down, down he came like glistening Phaeton, dead of a fall. The sea flecked red with Orpheus's blood, sold for a song. Ya Tammuz, Ya Adoni, Adonis, Orpheus, Yunus. Now, Mahatma Gandhi was a hot topic in the 1930s, right? In a London roundtable conference, and Pound met him. Pound's Mr. Gandhi. No one liked him. Since all saints are great destroyers, imagine the poor with a painted paradise at the end of it. Imagine the poor without a paradise at the end of it. Once there was China, once there was the Great Mogul, once and only once. Now all roads lead to London. Now all roads lead out of London, now and forever. Is that an expansion or a constriction, I ask you? Old Ezra, ever and forever on a voyage, sometimes angry, sometimes sweet. What is water but liquid fire, say the alchemists. Poverty but the base metal of sainthood. Did Eso like his pottage, Mr. Gandhi his poor cottage? Did Mr. Gandhi love his irrigated Cologne, all the muslins of China, all the brocades of Persia, a bonfire of vanities? What do Gandhi, Chaplin, and Mickey Mouse have in common? They entertained the poor of London's East End. All of Manchester's might taken up by a mere spinning wheel. Did old Ezra care? Did Tagore? They looked to Ferrara's Duke's Lodge with the frescoes, the peasant at the base, upon his shoulders the landlord, upon him the king and the lords, and above them angels and God, and somewhere there a poet. But Jiddu Krishnamurti, Annie Besant's dull boy, simply said, look at the tree, strong at root, beautiful after. Yes, but the leaf is related to the tree trunk. Asia presses at the borders of Europe. Africa presses at the borders of Europe. The new hordes will break down the visa checkpoints, something even Mr. Gandhi did not foresee in his sweetness and light. Europe, a delicate leaf in the wind, Asia, its root. Pull down your vanity, pull down. When Icarus soared too high, he fell into the Tahirian Sea. Lenin and Mao led the new Mongol and Tartar hordes. Truth shall prevail from sea to sea, but whose truth? Water, too, is a liquid quality of the mind. Wind is of the process, rain is of the process, the impossible dream on the peasant's shoulder, and Mussolini dead, sweet light and decorum. Most Indian boys have very bad relationships with their fathers, and gay boys never have a relationship with their fathers. So I'm still quarreling with my father at 72. This is the Daddy Canto, a fragment. A book Louse left out of Pound, the Indian edition, and like an ant, I described in my ode to Daddy's 60th birthday, slowly started to walk the Hindu mile. And when he died, I did not weep, nor attend his funeral, but worked and taught and elucidated. I read the 7 published poems to him with the refrain, my father, Pio, Pita, Pitama. But before dying, he said, I did not love him because I refused his money, which by the end was all he had left to give me, and with a name to come. And Nadira, 2 dead, a moon barge, with a veil cloud just lifting. Beauty is difficult. Jher to pidha, jani jani. Poisons we took knowingly. Oh my, mara bapna pap. Oh mother, my father's sins. Sujata Bhat's Gujarati, big brinjals for dad. Ringna, ringna. The tower all broken, the work all in ruins. Nothing matters but the quality of affection in the end. Thank you. You know, the Muslims, the Arabs conquered Andalusia, Spain, and they ruled Spain for 800 years. Europe under the Moors. Love depended on the lift and fall of a veil. Love was imprisoned behind crenellated walls, lattice balcony of stone. But love ever had wings to fly from the book into my mistress's look. So when Arnaud hymned the boys at dawn, they were no longer boys, but women of stature grown bold in love, refusing to shatter the placid mirror of love of the night before. Morning's morning, the Jew, Spinoza, grinding his lenses, unhampered for better sight, his hands busy by lamplight, his head afire with mysteries of light, or yet again the rising cadenza of the prayer call, yet kept time to by small stamping feet that extinguished divine fervor like a match lit, then discarded and dead. Ole, Allah. You know, the Spanish dances Ole comes from Allah. Ezra Pound was accused of treason. When America was at war with Italy, he broadcast on Radio Rome in support of Mussolini. He could have died, but the poet said, pretend to be mad, and he was in the madhouse for 16 years, where he wrote these divine poems that I like, the peasant cantos, radio or treason broadcast. When the Telugu woman poet, the same who made a prime minister translate for her, came to me and said, "Translate for me like you did for the Urdu Jamila." I sent her packing, having no intention to be an insider. She also said she despised villages. That's who listens to radio anymore. I'm not afraid of emotion, not being bound by codes of my father's foreign masters. I weep on the radio, and entire villages with a smattering of English rejoice, flock to me to learn emotion. Thou shalt not betray your nation, yes, but you shall correct your father when he's wrong. This is all a bushfire. No war but a bushfire. It'll die when the dreaded deadwood is all burnt out. We have cleared the deadwood. Now is the time of planting, of carving. Pull down your vanity, Coco Chanel, pull down. In Konya, I saw a resplendent Sufi in a magnificent golden green robe praying at the Maulana's door. Because Ataturk has turned mosques into museums, and he was so magnificent. He bought a vendor's unsold daily store of tomato at day's end. He was American. Let the world be filled with pickles, jellies, jam, all tomato. I was so touched. I wrote and spoke about it on All India Radio. Radio Ankara picked it up. Ah, Marconi of the iTelly. Who's this merchant who makes Sufi pickles? A tomato seller's heart must have danced, and that very instant, a wastrel Turkish 16-year-old must have become a Sufi, full of beauty, all for love. Love is the highest treason, said my teacher Anais Nin. Love is the highest treason, poor Anais said, and as poor Pound knew. Should I carry on? Do you want more poems, or should I stop? Yeah? Money canto. I have a rich father and I don't care for money. The rupee, Indian, is pegged too low against the dollar and euro, so that though we work and work, we will never catch up with Europe. So said Navroji in 1857, Dadabhai Navroji, 1857. But who listens? And Mr. Gandhi and the other Gandhi, Indira, no relative, devalued the currency. When I wanted to study at Oxford, that's impossible. A move she lived to regret too late in the grave. Keynes, post-war, indebting the Third World to the World Bank, saying like my father, you can live without ideas, but you can't live without money. You can live without ideas, but you can't live without money. And Wallace Stevens saying, money is only a kind of poetry. Money is only a kind of poetry. To build the city of Diochi, whose terraces are the color of stars, I went past Ekbatana, ancient Diochi, in Sogdiana, and met my Alexander, all flushed with victory. Beauty is difficult, and the goons of Khomeini rounded on me. How much they asked. I neither buy nor sell. I refuse to pay them off. Beauty is difficult. The only poet in the world with the name Merchant. Just as I refuse to pay to be filleted in the Rajabai Clock Tower, Bombay University, or to receive money for money as an Om Mani Padme Hum, until the cunning man at the Lost Property Office, Bombay Electric Suburban Tramway Company, found the rupee I had secreted in my lost plastic wallet in 1960, so deep, like a deeply buried guilty secret, I had forgotten about it. And he tricked a child and was shamefully richer by a rupee. The tower fell of Babylon, of Ekbatana, of Rajabai, mistakenly called Bhai. Amore dovesta memoria, money equal to prostitution, my mother. She refused my father's $1 million. The women in the cages of Bombay's Forest Road. Dad's workers, grown old at their lates, turned out into the street by stepmother, the prostitute on his death. I refusing guilty money, refusing to be paid blood money, wages of sin visited on the children, the tower broken, the tower of silence, 50 years' work in ruins, and a buzzing of bees. Leger murmurio, daddy, daddy, I shut my eyes and see 26 Pali Hill, Baccarat chandelier, Kashan carpet, check crystal, Murano vases, balm to my heart, unguent to my eyes. To teach at Harvard? It's impossible to teach at Harvard. Okay, now, Thank you, thank you. You're so kind, you're so kind. Thank you. I always long for an audience like this. I will read a little diatribe I've written on queer poetry. It'll be very quick. They say I have 2 minutes, but you know, please give me 5 minutes. I waited for 72 years. How to write queer. Shobna Kumar of Queer Inc., who did this book for me, one of my last books, editor, asked me to teach an online course on how to write queer. Now, I wrote 30 queer books in 30 years, but to ask a ballerina how she pirouettes would risk her falling while pirouetting, because explanation is the bane of poetry and of its enjoyment. But many actions in life are symbiotic, if not sympathetic. I would say reading and writing, writing and living are such symbiotic actions. If you don't read, you cannot write unless you're a genius, and that very few of us are. In my youth, people thought art reflects life, but in truth, it is life that imitates art. How else did I become a bearded Meena Kumari, going from morning into morning? In case you think I'm mad, let me tell you, all art is a little mad, because it keeps us from becoming fully mad, howling in a padded cell. If I wish to be a woman, something I dearly and stupidly wished for between the ages of 13 and 23, I was certainly not going to imitate my hysterical mother or my prudish sister, two good women I knew. I had a third choice, Meena Kumari, whom I saw in the flesh walking down my garden path to Achla Sachdev's home at Pali Hill. She was remote, but she was the nearest thing to Venus walking among us. Baudelaire had his Hottentot Venus, so why not I? Unless you live, L-I-V-E, all in capitals, fully live, you cannot write. And unless you read, you won't know how to couch that unique experience in a generalized language everyone can understand, especially if you write in English, which is not your mother tongue, as is the case with most Indian English poets. So in a nutshell, to write gay, you have to be gay, and to write intelligibly, you have to read other gay writers. The question I've heard most in India for the last 30 years is, how do I come out? How do you come out of your house daily to go to school or to work? You come out like that naturally. And if you can't, then writing will help you. But if you do it naturally, your writing will flow like Meena ji used to float down my childhood garden path. Kya aurat thi, hamara zamana kya tha? Ranjit Huskote once tried to insult me at the 2017 edition of the Times of Litfest in Bombay before Alec Padamsee by mocking, Hoshang is our mother. Yes, I am the mother of India's gay poets. And my mother in poetry was Alec Padamsee's elder brother, Sultan Padamsee, who was gay and had to commit suicide at 23 in 1919. Today is 2019. I will not commit suicide. Live and let live peacefully. After the 10th edition of the Kashish Queer Film Festival in Bombay, Vikram Fukan wrote on the difference between Western gay films and our pathetic attempts at the genre in India. The difference in quality is due to the different histories of our gay life on the two different continents. UK allowed gay sex in 1968. We did last year. Where's the comparison? Acceptance breeds confidence, repression, either death or defiance. You will have a shrill tone to your writing voice if you live a shrill life. So all comparisons are not necessary. We will find our voice. All we have to do is try. All we risk is failure, which is all right. We can try again and again. I have tried 30 times by now, not always successfully. But at least my writing allows me to breathe. Who knows, my exhalation may make others' breath catch fire. I love you all. Thank you. Now, these are my two new books. One is All My Masters, about my English teacher who's 90 years old and I still talk to her every day for 15 minutes. And this is all the gay people who have fought and fought to make all of you free. Thank you so much. Love you and bye-bye. Sorry to take up your time.
No, not at all. So authentic and so beautifully gay. Thank you, Hoshang, for being you and for all the work you've done in pioneering gay literature for India. Thank you so much. Hoshang will be signing his books outside, and his books are available at the bookstore. So find yourself a copy and give it a read. Thank you.